share this tab instead. Hopefully you guys can hear that.
Welcome to the very first episode
Can you folks hear
of
that,
the
I hope?
Medical Detectives Podcast, where each week we'll dive into the fascinating, mysterious,
How's the
and
audio on
sometimes
this one?
downright bizarre world of medicine, told by the people who've lived it. We're your hosts. I'm Anna O'Brien, and I'm Dr. Nance, an orthopedic surgeon with a passion for uncovering disparities in medicine. I've built a platform on bringing awareness to misdiagnosis in women and sharing stories that can hopefully help people.
All right, so let me give a bit of a background on this, also to catch anybody up who's just coming in. Today is a special on Glitter and Lasers, Anna O'Brien. She is an influencer, a super morbid obese influencer who over the years has originally was a body positivity fan, advocate, I don't know what you'd call it, fat acceptance icon. I'm not even sure of the precise terminology one would use, but she was into that whole thing, denying the harmful effects of the obesity that was having on her body. Since then, she's kind of been forced to acknowledge that that's not accurate and obesity is a real thing and it has affected her very negatively. She accepted sponsorships for exercise app. She lost 100 pounds using weight loss drugs without it telling anybody. She instead lied and said she lost it all through exercise. Then she gained it back. Then she admitted that she actually used weight loss drugs. Then she said it actually is now impossible for her to lose any more weight. Then she had to get a series of liposuction surgeries because nothing else will help her to get her massive body weight down. But it is not for looks. It is not for cosmetic purposes. It is only because she wants to feel better. And it is not because obesity feels bad. It's because she has a condition called lipedema. And I'm not going to go into all that. She's going to explain herself, and we're going to talk about all that in a moment. But apparently, that is what causes all of her pain. And the only cure is lots of liposuction. There's literally nothing else she can do that she hasn't already done. And now she has doctors giving her multiple series of liposuction and skin removal surgeries. After the first two, they took out approximately 40 pounds of fat and skin. She's since then gained it all back, plus more. Now they just did another surgery, removing fat and skin from her arms. Anna has gotten rid of her scale, so now who knows if she will actually gain this weight back. She won't know, although we will know by the lack of new videos that she releases. With that introduction, I'm going to go through some of your comments and let's start. This show here. This is a podcast that she started called The Medical Detectives, which is dedicated to allegedly to helping people, helping women. It seems to really just be a platform for Anna to tell her story and make herself look like a victim. At least this episode. I haven't listened to the other ones, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But let's listen to this one. Anna, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say if Anna's story is true, if this is actually a true story, I think her parents and the doctor did her a disservice. I want to go out on a limb and say that. I think that the parents should have never taken her to that type of a place in the first place. But the doctor did not, I think he was irresponsible to give her such strong drugs as a first response. I think that especially at that young age, that's why I find it so hard to believe. But if this is true, you were done a disservice, Anna. And that is, I do agree with that.
I think I'm still coming to terms with why my parents thought that was okay to do. But regardless of
Good point, Anna.
I was put on that.
Okay, so far, 1 point for Anna. If this story is true, and she lies a lot, but I'm going to just say that, okay, this one's true. Just give her, just whatever. We'll hypothesize this is truth. If this is truth, she does come out looking like she was mistreated a little bit here. So I can respect that.
And I lost some weight, but not really. And I just remember during that period of my life that every once in a while I would get to eat normal food. So my mom, I remember, threw everything away in the house, like had this big menagerie where like everything that.
So her mom threw away everything in the house. So this wasn't, okay. So this makes me think that they didn't just take her to the clinic as the first step. This makes me think this was a whole process. And like Jamie's saying, she probably doesn't even remember it clearly. Probably not. Well, let's just let Anna finish telling the story. I don't want to get too much.
In my opinion, at the
argue
time,
too much.
Tasted Good was in the garbage. We were left with like brown rice, flavorless chicken, shredded wheat, and vegetables. That's it.
So she was basically going to eat like a bodybuilder and get really healthy. And now I don't want to suggest that you should go on an extreme diet or you should put your kid on an extreme diet. But that is, I mean, if the food was cooked properly, there's no reason why brown rice and chicken has to taste bad, right? Like you could put a little bit of gravy on there or something. You could put some spice on it. I mean, I don't really like brown rice, but brown rice and chicken can be okay if you cook it well. Same thing with, what was the other thing she said? Whole wheat bread or something. But the point is, healthy does not have to equal bad. The way she said they threw away all the good food and they kept only the healthy stuff is just such, not to be rude, but that's fatso talk. That's defeatist fat person talk. Talking about good food as opposed to junk food. That's junk food they threw out, or they threw out the unhealthy food.
And I remember, and I have this very vivid memory of when I was about, I want to say 10 or 11. I went to my friend Nikki S's house and her mom made me a cheeseburger. And I remember sitting there eating that cheeseburger being like, this is the best thing I've ever had in my entire life.
So one of her greatest memories is eating a cheeseburger at 10 years old. This tells me this girl had an absolute obsession with food. She had an obsession with food as a child, because I certainly overate as a kid. I ate way too much. I was a fat kid. I wasn't like 300 pounds fat or anything like that, but I was a chubby kid. I overate. My parents overfed me. They put me on diets sometimes, and to be fair, I don't think those diets were I think those diets were helpful. But I think that was unhelpful was that whenever the diet was over, we went back to eating like crap again. We never maintained the healthy, it was too extreme. We went from eating junk food to eating diet, losing the weight, going back to the junk food. And that was not a healthy way but I don't want to make this about me. The point I'm trying to make about Anna is she's talking about when she was 10, her happiest moment as a child that she can remember was being given a cheeseburger by her friend's mom.
This cheeseburger, wow. And this like cheese, it wasn't even probably that good of a cheeseburger, but because I'd eaten such terrible food for like a while.
Like we're talking In-N-Out cheeseburger or
yeah, like it was probably like McDonald's cheeseburger, but I just remember being like, oh my God. I was like, my life has forever changed. Like music played, lights flashed. Like it was like this amazing thing. And I didn't die. No, but
I'm surprised you didn't, from the pleasure.
No issues. And I just had a normal day. And I remember that up until that point, I had a really weird relationship between pleasing my parents and losing weight. Like,
I'm interested to hear this now, because I know her mother was very obese, died from obesity related issues.
I felt every time I got on the scale that I was a little bit of a failure because I wasn't losing as quickly as they thought I should have been losing taking fen-phen.
Well, hold on a second. I love how she never gives any actual numbers. I felt like a failure because I wasn't losing as quickly as they thought Well, did you lose anything? Did you actually lose any weight at all? I mean, is that why you felt like a failure? Because you were supposed to be losing and you were actually gaining because you were lying about what you were eating? Or did you feel like a failure because, your parents had unreasonable expectations and they expected you to lose 20 pounds in 2 weeks? Like, can we have some kind of numbers? Like who was the unreasonable person here? I mean, to be fair, at that age, she might not remember, but she remembers everything else with perfect detail. So I'm surprised she can't remember any of the actual numbers when she can remember every other detail with such clarity.
But I was starving and still very active. So what ended up happening is life was just kind of, bleak. And so I stopped. I would say in a little bit, I stopped being as active because I had no freaking energy. And
hold on. So she says now that because of the diet, she had to stop being active because she had no energy. How little were they feeding you? How strict was this diet? And you also want us to believe that you had no energy because of your diet, but you were on amphetamines. She was on prescription amphetamines. Anybody who's not aware, amphetamines are much stronger than caffeine. They are a stimulant, and they will have you bouncing off the walls if you are not somebody who's already taking them regularly. If you don't have a tolerance to them, if you just take one, so maybe she had taken them for so long at that point, her body had gotten used to them. But even so, it's hard to believe that she was taking amphetamines as a child A child on amphetamines with no energy because they weren't feeding her enough. What were they? What was a starvation? What about your body fat? Your normal people, their body fat gives them energy when they don't get enough food.
Started to change because I wasn't the same active person I was before. And I
Exactly.
started to put on weight instead of losing it. And I think at this point,
Hippie East, I'm sorry to hear that. And I do believe it's possible. I do believe it's possible. It's just unfortunate that your parents put you on drugs at 8 years old. I don't want to criticize your parents, but it's really the parents are doing like that's so extreme at 8 years old to put you on drugs. I feel sorry for you that you had to go through all that. And I do, accept that it's possible. I know, I mean, they put kids on other kinds of drugs, right? Welcome in, Nutty. Yeah, it is possible they put her on the fen-phen, but I do question that she had no energy. Because if she was on the fen-phen, how come she didn't have any energy?
The articles and stuff that came out about fen-phen, we all got off of it because it wasn't legal anymore. So basically, I gained a bunch of weight and I kind of just accepted it. In my 20s, I moved on from my parents.
Welcome in, Nutty.
Moved into a really amazing group of friends. And I think that every friend group goes through this. I mean, I hope they still.
So now she just skipped ahead from age 10 to age 20 something. Skipped a lot in between there. She went from being a chubby 10-year-old on fen-phen to now she's in her 20s and in college. A lot got glossed over
through it, but back when I was in my 20s, everybody went through it, which was like the collective culture where girls got together and dieted together. So we did the thing that everybody seemed to do, which was join Weight Watchers, right? We all got together. We'd go to our group meetings together. We would support each other.
But let me also make that clear. Even if I maybe am a little bit skeptical of details of Anna's story, I do not support putting a child on strong drugs for weight loss, or really any drugs for weight loss. I do believe in the value of healthy eating and putting, and cleaning up a kid's diet. I think that's a good thing, to clean up their diet, get them on some healthier foods. But you don't want to have like a crazy strict diet for a young kid. Even if they are overweight, you don't want to put them on a crazy strict diet. You just want to get them onto some healthy eating.
We'd share recipes, we'd
without drugs,
weigh in, and honestly, I built my friendships around losing weight. And that's a really weird dynamic, right? Where that success in losing weight was also like a success of friendship.
But hold on, did you build your relationship around sharing in the effort of losing weight? Was it about the fitness of losing weight, working out together, cooking meals together? Sharing, the struggles together. Oh, it was tough the other day. I went and I worked out. I didn't really feel like it, but I did it. Supporting each other. Was it that kind of community of weight loss? Or was it more, hey, I lost all this, and just, trying to lie to each other to try to make it look like you lost more than some, like, I guess what I'm saying is, was it a supportive weight loss community where you were trying to get healthier, or was it a negative weight loss community where it was some kind of like a ego trip psychological thing?
It doesn't work for you as simple as that. It's almost like you're a failure in
Absolutely.
Your friendship.
There's no need for drugs for a young kid.
Which is something that I don't know if I realized until I just started talking about this part of it. But like, I think as we fast forward and I stopped losing weight, I lost about 100 pounds that way, just by literally getting active as part of this Weight Watchers group. And
so she lost 100 pounds in her 20s as part of Weight Watchers. If that's true, that's fantastic. Again, we have to take everything Anna says with a grain of salt, but I think that's a fantastic story. I think that's good that she lost 100 pounds on Weight Watchers. I think Weight Watchers is a good program. Obviously it's not perfect, but I think that it's a program that has a proven record of success for a lot of people. So it absolutely can work, and that it worked for Anna, I think, is great.
A Soul Cycle with these girls.
So what happened?
I would run to Soul Cycle, do 1 to 2 Soul Cycle classes, and run back. I started walking to work, so I would walk from Brooklyn to Midtown Manhattan, which is about a 4-mile walk. And
okay, so I think this is the mythical period where Anna was actually walking a few miles at a time, because she always talks about how she used to walk miles, and we've never seen it on her YouTube channel. So if it ever really did happen, it probably happened in her 20s, in this period of time that she's talking about now. after she lost that 100 pounds. She probably was relatively fit at that point, at least compared to where she was, at least compared to where she is now. I'm interested to know, when did she lose I would think of the right word for it, that motivation to be healthy? Because to lose 100 pounds through Weight Watchers and exercise, it takes a lot of motivation. And I just don't know where it all went.
Would walk there and back. And I started just becoming really, really active. Again, I never was like a binge eater or an overeater. So it kind of was like,
thank you very
my
much,
activity
Jamie.
just
Yes,
jumped
please.
up, and that's where the weight went. But then it stopped. I had lost weight and gained weight before, but this was very different because I was gaining weight while still maintaining a really healthy lifestyle. So I was still going to spin class. I was still running. I was still eating healthy. I was still walking to and from work. So it didn't make sense that
Now, this is where her story starts to get very suspicious. Up to this point, everything she said, whether it was true or not, it was certainly within the realm of possibility. It's possible to be prescribed drugs at a young age. I don't think it's common, but it clearly does happen, as Hippie Easter reported. And, and I've heard of kids being prescribed plenty of other types of drugs. So it's not common, but it does happen. As far as the doctor making her feel bad, I don't know if that happened or not. But even if it did, maybe it did. As far as the 100-pound weight loss in her 20s, maybe that happened too. But now is where it starts to get a little bit unbelievable, because now she's claiming that the behavior which allowed her to lose 100 pounds, the exercise, the dieting, the Weight Watchers, the walking to work, the soul cycling twice a week, she alleges that she continued all of this, but the weight started to come back. That's questionable. That is a very questionable statement.
I was gaining weight back.
Let's rewind that just a little
know what to think. I felt very cheated. So I would walk from Brooklyn to Midtown Manhattan, which is about a 4-mile walk. And I would walk, lost weight and gained weight before. But this was very different because I was gaining weight while still maintaining a really healthy lifestyle. So
That is a questionable statement. Gaining weight while maintaining a very healthy lifestyle. What does she mean by gaining weight? A couple pounds maybe of muscle mass? Or does she mean like putting on pounds and pounds of fat and her clothes don't fit anymore?
Still going to spin class. I was still running. I was still eating healthy. I was still walking to and from work. So it didn't make sense that I was gaining weight.
That's a fair point.
I honestly didn't know.
But did she have ADD though?
I felt very cheated.
We don't know. We don't really
very
know.
Angry because I felt like I did everything right and this is my predicament. So like,
ooh, that's a good point, Jarella. That's something that's actually a very interesting theory. That she had the motivation for that period of time, and then when she lost it, because she never really made the changes to her lifestyle, she was just relying on that motivation that she had. Once that motivation was gone, then the weight came. That's actually a very good theory there.
What the hell? What the hell? And I did start to feel, and I don't think I've ever admitted this to myself. And
yeah, may have burned herself out.
A bit wild. But I think I started to isolate myself because I was embarrassed that I wasn't able to keep up with my friends.
I love to hear that, Nutty.
Already crying. Who are making all of these amazing changes in their life.
That is awesome, because that's what, I don't want to start kissing your butt or anything, but I think that's a good move, because a lot of parents they overreact, or maybe they don't react at all, and they just let the kid keep gaining weight until the point where it becomes a problem. So I'm really glad to hear that you figured out a good solution, it sounds like.
And I was making the same changes, but not seeing the same success. So you begin to build this mental capacity.
Keep those squirrels healthy.
I must be lying to myself. I must be a failure. I don't want to have the conversation about why isn't it working. And I don't even know if my friends judged me in that way, but I judged myself in that way because I built my entire community and friendship around managing weight. And
so now it's starting to come together. She started gaining weight, and her community that she had built for herself was built around weight loss. All of her friends were people she worked out with, I guess, people she dieted with. And when she started gaining weight, she couldn't admit that she wasn't dieting anymore, because that was what the entire community was built around. So instead, she pretended that she had some weird condition, that even though she was still dieting, I promise I'm dieting, I'm still exercising, I promise you, but I'm gaining weight now for some reason. I don't know why. That's the vibe I'm getting, where she didn't want to admit to people that she was no longer participating in the activities as she was. And again, this is all my hypothesis. I could be wrong, but that's what I think was happening there. Let's hear a little more.
And I couldn't be successful in that friendship because I wasn't losing weight anymore. I even felt that way partially in my job. Like it's wild to think, when I'm really honest with myself, how much that inability to achieve that goal really messed me up.
No problem, Nutty. Thank you for coming in.
I think which obesity as a medical term, right, and label carries an unwarranted moral judgment to it that does not apply to other medical conditions.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. And if it does, that's one of the times where I do agree with reducing stigmas, as some people would put it. I don't think that there should be any shame in saying you're obese. I think that it's good to be healthy, but I don't think admitting the truth is inherently a bad thing. I don't think that we should lie to ourselves, and I don't think we should. I don't like that people feel the need to lie to themselves. I don't like that.
I think that there is a lot of stigma about obesity, and I think there's a lot of stigma about bodies in general and what visual cues they give us. So regardless of whether you're plus size or you use a wheelchair, people are going to assume an inordinate amount of things about you based on that visual picture. And as much as you may be different than that visual picture, you are never given the benefit of the doubt. In fact, you're always climbing back from a negative assumption.
I mean, I guess that some people may be more judgmental than others, but I don't think that that's something that, I mean, it's something you have to kind of just, I hate to say it, but you can't let that affect you to the point where it impacts you. You have to not let, other people's bad attitudes harm you, right? I mean, I know that's easier to say than do, but that's something I think is important. And Anna says she's the confidence queen, so that shouldn't be a problem for her.
The hardest part about not losing weight for me is that I didn't know what else to fix. And I think the automatic reaction to me was just to do more. But then what happens is you do more, and I would eat less and less. I would work out more and more. And I would say, honestly,
this is what I have to call into question. Working out more, eating less, and you're still gaining weight. What is this? I'm glad they call this the medical detectives, because Anna is a medical mystery.
Running to SoulCycle, doing 2 classes and running back is probably not healthy behavior.
How is that not healthy? That's absolutely healthy. What's wrong with running and exercising? How many miles were you running, I guess? If you were running 10 miles, maybe that's a bit much. But I don't think you were doing more than what a person who's very healthy would do.
Just not. And there was one point in my life where I would have been proud of that, would have been like, look at all the exercise I was doing. But the reality is like, I was trying to compensate for what my body wasn't doing. And I thought, well, maybe if I just put.
She was trying to compensate for what her body wasn't doing. That doesn't even make sense. Your body wasn't doing this. None of this adds up now. Her story has gone from, possible to now being completely unbelievable at this point.
Pushed harder. Maybe if I just did more, it would change. And then when it didn't, I really did feel like a failure. I also felt like I was delusional. I think that's a really good word for my whole entire journey. It's like,
let's hear that again. A good word to describe her journey is delusional.
He wasn't doing. And I thought, well, maybe if I just pushed harder, maybe if I just did more, it would change. And then when it didn't, I really did feel like a failure. I also felt like I was delusional. I think that's a really good word for my whole entire journey. It's like,
it is.
Maybe I'm lying to myself.
You are.
Right? Like maybe I am
lying to
eating
your
all
viewers.
of these things. Maybe my calorie counting is off. Maybe I'm not.
Maybe it actually, hold on. I love this part here. Anna acknowledges that maybe, just maybe, she might be, she might not be right. There's a possibility that maybe she's doing something wrong. Let's hear what she does when she realizes that she could possibly be wrong.
Exercising as hard as I think I am. Maybe I'm not going fast enough on that bike. So it becomes this constant internal, like, what can I do more? Until you just break down and give up. And that's essentially what happened. I just finally was like, this is too freaking much. I'm done. So
I guess my question this raises the question then. So if you were exercising more and eating less and gaining more, what happened when you went back to eating normally? Did you stop gaining? What happened when you went back to eating more and exercising less? Did your weight stop going up then? Like, like what happened? I don't understand. Like, so she wants us to believe that she was exercising more and eating less and her weight was going up. So what happened when you stopped doing that?
Started to feel just unconnected to my friends. So I dove into work. I would work constantly. I would sleep in the office. And in line with that, we were testing a new piece of software that was for content management for social media. We needed to test that software. I was like, well, I'll just make some Instagram content. We'll see if that does well. I don't really care.
So notice she never actually notice she never answered the question. She said that she was exercising more and eating less and she was gaining more weight and it was terrible. And then finally she burned out and she stopped. So did she stop gaining weight or not though? That she never answered that. This mysterious weight gain that when you should have been losing because of all the exercise and the diet, when you were actually gaining, what happened? Well, then I threw myself into work. No, but what happened with the weight? Well, I threw myself into work. We were testing some new software. No, but what happened to this medical mystery? This is where her host should stop her and should say, hold on, Anna, before you go on to that, we got to explain here. So what happened with that mysterious weight gain? Did it stop? Did it continue? What happened with that? Instead, the doctor just, whatever, it's cool.
And anyone who knows me knows that I am a somewhat recovering workaholic. I'm still working on it, but it is who I am. So I became really good at regularly posting, at trying different things because I was trying to test this software that helped brands and companies do that. Well, I worked really hard. And because of that, I inadvertently grew a following on social media, just trying to test new technology. And it started off kind of slow. I remember I had like 10,000 followers, maybe in the first couple months. And I was like blown away by that. I was like, I've made it big. But apologizing for it is enough of a reason to hate me. And
let's go back. I missed something.
Have a say in my life for good.
I can't believe I missed that. I fast forwarded thinking there wasn't going to be anything good. And then she actually said something interesting.
50K, and then it's 100K. And then it's, oh my God, 200,000 people follow me. But that also means that there is a lot of people who feel like they have a say in my life for good and for bad.
I love how she says that. And then she acts like she's not okay with that. But yet she highlights every positive comment and she will delete all of the negative comments, keep all the positive comments, but she wants to act like she doesn't like that people are able to influence her. No, she loves that. She just doesn't like when she disagrees with them.
Being in a bigger body is very polarizing. And sometimes that's
being in a bigger body. Stop disconnecting yourself from your body. You're not in a bigger body. You are a bigger body.
Just enough that just existing in a bigger body.
You're not existing in a bigger body. You exist as a bigger body.
And
you exist as a bigger body.
I was a nobody. And all of a sudden I was like enemy number one to some people. And I think that's when I noticed, actually, if I have to be incredibly honest, the time where I realized my life had been changed by this forever.
There's only two kinds of people I think who really don't like Anna. One of them are people who just don't like people who are fat. Whether it's right or wrong, those people do exist. That's one group, probably the smaller group. The larger group, in my opinion, are people who don't like hypocrites, people who don't like dishonesty, people who don't like when a slick talking con woman takes advantage of her audience's gullibility. I think that is the majority of people who dislike Anna.
I posted a picture of myself in a swimsuit. Just a normal picture, just me on a beach. And
just a normal picture. I bet her ass was hanging out. I bet she barely even had anything covered. I bet it looked like a serving of mashed potatoes.
The company asked me if they could use it to just repost. And again, at this point, I didn't know anything about making money. I wasn't making any money. And I was like, sure, you can repost this. I don't care. They ended up using it. It ended up getting in the wrong hands and it became...
It is sad. But I don't think that's a lot of people. I hope it's not.
People saying that a plus size person should not be used in advertising for a product like a razor. And it ended up to someone doing a podcast about whether or not plus size people should be in advertising.
Is that what it was? It about plus size people in advertising, or was it about your ad? I'd be interested to hear the details on this, because I've criticized Anna specifically countless times. I have no issue with plus size people in advertising. I think that's perfectly fine. I don't think they should be advertising obesity, but if you want to show different sizes of clothes, great. Nothing wrong with that. No reason why you can't have people of different sizes in commercials. I think that's very different from glorifying obesity, though.
It was a very, very popular podcast. I'm not going to name it specifically, but they had a long discussion about whether I should be seen or whether or not people like me should be seen. And it led to me actually
That is a
getting attacked
fantastic
on a
thing.
sidewalk.
Lets you
And
take back control.
it's part of the reason I
and
left
a lot
New
of your
York.
health.
So I think that's when
Love
it
that.
clicked that I was in a lot of ways powerful, because if I could make somebody this angry, then that's pretty powerful. But also I had to think about my life in a very different way. I had to protect myself, and
You had to protect yourself. Well, protect yourself from high blood pressure, from high blood sugar. What do you mean protect yourself? Protect yourself from fall risk? Absolutely. I'm glad that she's finally taking it seriously. Anna, I don't know what woke you up to the need to protect yourself from things like falls and high blood pressure, but I'm glad you're finally taking it seriously.
I had to learn to navigate in this world where people knew who I was and had an opinion about me.
Oh, she means protect herself from harmful opinions. Oh, yeah, those dangerous opinions that hurt her so much.
I also started to get very involved in the body positivity movement, and this opened up a whole different world where my
Welcome
weight
in,
was
Meg.
seen in just a
Hope you're having
very
a great
different
day.
way for the first time in my life.
We're doing a glitter and laser
now
special
I have this
today.
beautiful place in social media where people were like, "You're beautiful, you're special," and we were talking about bigger bodies in a different way.
Oh, and let me do a little recap also for Meg and anybody else who's just come in. Today, the special about glitter and lasers. We started off with 2 videos. One of them was showing some of her history with working out and how she essentially never really had any idea what she was doing in the gym. The only workout video she ever made, she wasn't able to complete any of the exercises. I think that demonstrates her lack of transparency. And then the other video, which I showed, was her drunk in a Target, trashing the display, knocking over, well, not knocking over, but undressing the mannequins and buying, 10,000 calories of protein candies. I think that just shows how abrasive she can be. So now we're going to talk about Anna's medical history, and that's what this podcast is about. So we started off with her talking about how she was gaining weight despite all the exercise and dieting she was doing. And then she stopped exercising and dieting and never explained whether she stopped gaining weight. That medical mystery has just been left unanswered. But that's where we are right now in the podcast. And now she's talking about her online presence.
I had lived in this world where I had learned to accept
Then you're in the right place, Meg.
preconceived opinions of me and rise above them, which is, again, a great skill, but
Enjoy.
not super healthy or amazing to live in. And now was presented with a world where I didn't have to prove anything, or at least it felt like I didn't have to prove anything.
Oh, this is a very telling statement. When she realized she no longer had to prove anything. She realized she could just say whatever she wants. Doesn't really need to prove anything. All she needs is enough likes on a post, and that kind of proves itself, doesn't it? So Anna had a revelation that she no longer needed to tell the truth.
And that was, for lack of a better word, addictive.
It was addictive. It was addictive when she realized she could just say whatever she wanted, and that nobody would ever know the real truth. Let's let her give her a little rope to bury herself. That mixed metaphor. Let's give her a little rope to hang herself here. Let's go back 15 seconds.
But not super healthy or amazing to live in. And now was presented with a world where I didn't have to prove anything, or at least it felt like I didn't have to prove anything. And that was, for lack of a better word, addictive. We were right in that crux of body positivity coming to light. So
this is just such a self-own here, where she admits that when she realized she no longer had to prove anything she says, it became addictive. And she just started to really enjoy not having to prove herself anymore and being able to just say whatever the heck she wanted to, knowing that people couldn't actually question her effectively because she could delete any comments, dissenting comments.
So the acceptance of a bigger body was on the way.
Welcome
of
in,
being
Empress Shabbat.
more
Good to
accepted
see ya.
versus less. And so there was a lot of advocacy. There was a lot of supportive people. Don't get me wrong, still bad people
I
out there
understand
saying
that.
mean things. That is the internet. But it was definitely a better place.
Proud of you, though.
And that space gave me hope in a lot of ways. Hope that I could learn to live in this
Great point.
body and not necessarily constantly be.
Alcohol is so fattening. Anybody who's not aware, alcohol, a can of beer has more calories than a can of Coca-Cola. Significantly more. A can of beer can have like 180 or 190 calories. 200 calories if it's really strong beer. A can of Coca-Cola is 140 calories. So anyway, so just get a can of light beer. Unless it's the ultra light, and they do make, like even the ultra light beer is like 80, 90 calories. But a regular light beer like a Bud Light is still like 120 calories. A can of Coca-Cola is 140. So just, yeah, alcohol is fattening. And whiskey, a shot of whiskey is like 150 calories, I think.
Focused on
a glass of wine
changing
is like
that body.
160.
And the body positive community helped me stop measuring my value in a size and helped me start appreciating what my body was capable of. And I will always be grateful for that.
What does that even mean? I wish she would elaborate a little bit more. It let her appreciate it made her stop appreciating. What was that? How did she say that again?
Positive community helped me stop measuring my value in a size.
Okay, I think that's not a bad thing. In fact, I think that's a good thing. I think that's one of the few good things about the whole body positivity movement. And I think that if it was just limited to that, I don't think it would be so bad. I don't think people should judge themselves based on a size, because that varies a lot. Some people are bigger, some people are smaller, some people are built, shaped differently. I do value health. I think health has value. And, if people, vanity, all that's a whole separate ballgame. But I don't think people should wrap up their worth in just a number or a weight or a size. I think that's something that people should get away from. And I think most of us are in agreement on that.
And helped me start appreciating what my body was capable of. And I will always be grateful for that. That said,
fair enough.
My
fair
time
enough.
in that community did.
Scientifically, it's not the same. It's not exactly the same as sugar. Scientifically, and alcohol is different. But as far as calories go, it's a lot of calories. Think of it like sugar. You'll be okay.
Cause some harm. And I think that that's really hard to say because I don't want people to feel betrayed or hurt or like I'm biting the hand that fed me. But there's a lot of things in that community that
okay, alcohol is a sugar. Alcohol is its own
the
thing.
Doctor or even doing basic everyday things.
All right, we're not going to have a science debate because I can't moderate it. I don't know enough science to look this up. I am not a real doctor, but look, we can all agree on this. Alcohol is a lot of calories, regardless of whether it's sugar or not. There's a lot of calories in there, so be careful drinking it.
It's scary. There's a lot of discussion about how the medical community doesn't support fat bodies, which is true in a lot of instances. But it doesn't mean that all medical professionals are out to get plus size people.
What a conspiratorial mindset. It doesn't mean all medical professionals are out to get plus size people. Well, are you suggesting that a lot of them are? Is she seriously suggesting there's a percentage of medical professionals out to, quote, get plus size people? What are they trying to get them? Trying to get them to lose weight? That's probably true. There's a percentage of medical professionals who want to get plus size people to lose weight. I think that is a fair statement. Let's hear this again.
A lot of discussion about how the medical community doesn't support fat bodies, which is...
It doesn't support fat bodies. Well, it supports fat people, but it wants them to lose weight to be healthier. It doesn't want to encourage them to stay fat. No, it doesn't support fat bodies, and I don't think it should. I mean, I think if somebody's fat, it doesn't make them worth less. But I don't think we should be encouraging people to stay heavy. I don't think that's a good idea at all.
It's true in a lot of instances, but it doesn't mean that all medical professionals are out to get plus size people. Also, there was a lot of discussion about it's okay to take a break. It's okay to be tired.
Exactly.
Which, again, a valuable insight into life. But I began to
How'd
feel
you
like,
agree?
oh, being tired is just part of a bigger body.
Hold on a second. Being tired is part of being in a bigger body. I remember when I first got back into working out, even though I was working out a lot and I was getting stronger, I would have trouble catching my breath. Not until I got my weight down would I no longer have trouble catching my breath. Now, is it possible I could have got my fitness up and kept my weight up? Maybe to an extent, I could have put on more muscle mass, but there's an upper limit. Like if you look at a bodybuilder, he weighs 275 pounds with no body fat. He also has trouble breathing. Because once you get to a certain body weight, it's your body has troubles. It just doesn't work as well. Again, I'm not a doctor. There's chemical elements, there's physical elements, there's obviously a ton of biological elements. So yeah, I think it's extremely common for people who are very heavy to have a lack of stamina. I certainly know I did, and most people I speak to who are very heavy have acknowledged that when they lose weight, one of the things they notice is their stamina improves. I noticed it has for me.
Being exhausted, being in pain. These things are just normal because I am plus size. So it began to write a script for me that this was just my reality. And this is the reality I had to live in. And
exactly,
I just got, for lack of a better word, shitty cards. And
okay, this is such defeatist talk. I know I'm going slow. We're probably going to have to do like a second episode. I don't think I'm going to be able to get the whole podcast in today, but let's just go back a little bit because I'm enjoying this. I think we're having a good size.
So it began to write a script for me that this was just my reality. And this is the reality I had to live in. And
I love it. She says, this is the reality I had to live in, being exhausted and being in pain because she's overweight. I love how even the idea of possibly losing weight to correct some of that never even entered into the equation.
I just got, for lack of a better word, shitty cards.
Okay. So she got crappy cards. I'm going to censor myself. Anna's claiming that she was just born with bad genetics and she just has to live with it. And to be fair, I don't want to be negative, but there actually is an element of genetics. Like some people naturally are going to be more lean. Some people are naturally going to put on muscle better. Some people are going to be taller. Some people are going to have an uphill battle. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's going to be a little bit tougher. Some people, if you have enough medical conditions, you might not be able to overcome all of them. So I don't want to lump everybody together. But the typical person is going to be able to have some control over their body weight to a greater or lesser extent. Whether you're skinny and you want to get a little stronger, you want to get your weight up, or whether you're heavier and you want to get your body fat down. It might be tougher for some, but you typically are able to influence your body weight in a positive direction, whether it's to gain healthy weight or to lose fat. I'm pretty lucky in the sense that I'm probably somewhere in the middle as far as difficulty losing. Like I get heavy, but if I diet, it comes off. I thank God I'm not somebody who really, really struggles, because I know that happens to some.
And there's nothing I could do.
This is a great segue into a question about
good point.
When you started to think,
because everything other than the body, Anna was blessed with a 2-parent household, plenty of income, plenty of resources. She never went hungry as a child. Her parents seemed to be very loving. Yes, it was not perfect. I'm not saying nobody has a perfect situation, but for the most part, she did have a pretty good life. Like, and I'm not here to play, judge and jury on who has had a good life and who hasn't, and who is allowed to complain and who isn't. But Anna's had a pretty good life for the most part.
Think about perhaps your size as a more medical issue. If there were something else beyond just your size that was causing you to feel tired and everything that you just described.
I'm going to be really,
most people fall somewhere in the
candid
middle
about all of this.
Some
This is a
people,
podcast, so we're just going to be real, right? I hadn't had a normal poop.
What?
For years.
What? Why have you not had well, first of all, what does she even mean by a normal poop? And why is she even like, this is starting to become TMI. So trigger warning, scat. If you don't want to hear about Anna's pooping, well, actually, I don't think anybody wants to hear about Anna's pooping. So you're just going to have to tough it out with me.
And it was beginning to affect my ability to do basic everyday things.
This is TMI right now, but we're going to keep going.
And I would get so exhausted on top of this. Sorry.
She would get so exhausted from taking these poops that what?
I just said the poop because I was like, that was the thing that like broke the camel's back. But it would also be things like I would go and have a great day. Like I did all of these things. I'm like, man, my body's amazing. I can do all of these.
That's so crazy. How all of a sudden her body is amazing. A minute ago, she was dealt, quote, shitty cards and was just cursed to live with pain and exhaustion. And now all of a sudden, my body's amazing. Like she can't make up her mind whether she's crippled with disability or whether that her body is amazing and she's so brave and strong. She keeps vacillating from one to the other.
Things. And then I would pass out. And I would physically be unable to leave my bed.
Okay, so she would pass out and be physically unable to leave her bed. Was she taking weight loss drugs at any portion of this time? Because if she was taking stimulant drugs, that would explain why she felt so full of energy and then all of a sudden she would just crash. Because if you're taking stimulants, like Adderall or Vyvanse for binge eating, that will have that effect where you will crash when it wears off and you will just sleep like for a day. So is that what she's describing? She gives us TMI on the poop, but she doesn't even bother to tell us what medication she's on.
Like everything in my body would just break down. And I would be stuck that way for 2 or 3 days. I would have gastrointestinal issues. I sometimes would be vomiting. I would be violently ill. I started struggling to get out of bed just in general. And I kept pushing myself physically because around this point, I started to feel in my body really broken down. So
I hope that she's going somewhere with her poops, because why did she have to tell us about how she never takes a normal poop unless it has something to do with this story? If the reason why she was bedbound and tired was because she spent all of her energy pooping, I guess that is like a really interesting story in some ways.
As I'm in this community, I just kept thinking, oh, the reason my knee hurts is because I'm fatter. The reason
this is the first logical thought Anna's ever had. My knee hurts because I'm too fat. Yes, it does. Anna, you're right. You know why else it hurts? Because you have bad posture. Because your knees are totally stiff when you walk and when you exercise. So along with being really fat, your knees are taking way too much stress. So yeah, you're right. Your knees hurt because you're too fat and you put too much stress on them. But you're actually 100% correct.
So my ankle hurts is because I'm fatter.
Yes, yes. Oh my goodness. It's not a medical mystery. Anna actually has a good understanding of her situation. I misunderstood.
The reason my thighs hurt are because I'm fatter.
Anna, where did this self-awareness come from?
The reason I'm tired is because I'm fatter.
Is everybody else hearing this? Like what is the gotcha moment? And when she tells us, gotcha though, none of this is true.
The reason when I stand up, I almost pass out is because I'm fatter.
This is every single thing we've ever described. This is every single problem associated with obesity. Anna has every common problem associated with being super morbidly obese, apparently.
All of these things just became...
Don't forget your high blood pressure.
...related to the weight, and that's just how my body was. And so...
Don't forget the sleep apnea also.
So I initially pretended like a lot of those things didn't exist. I think when it
So she pretended a lot of those things didn't exist. So in other words, she has knee pain, she has ankle pain, she has pain in her hips, she gets tired easily, she feels like she's going to pass out when she stands up. But she denied all of this for a long time. Interesting.
Became really clear. I have one moment I remember that is the moment where I realized I couldn't live like this anymore.
Welcome in, Kat.
In Hawaii. We were filming swimsuits.
I'm glad it didn't happen to you.
You know, as one does as a creator. And I couldn't walk in the sand. It hurt so bad. And there's a video of me somewhere. I'd burn it if I could, where I fall into the sand and I just cry.
So she was so out of shape that she wasn't able to walk out of the ocean. And anybody who's ever gone swimming in the ocean knows that, especially if there's a strong current, it can be tiring to swim in the ocean because the current pulls you. So you're swimming against the current, you're standing against the current, you're swimming against the waves. If you spend an hour in the ocean, even just kind of standing, the current will pull you away from the beach sometimes. And then you have to swim back toward the beach. And when you get back to the beach, you're going to be tired out. You're going to feel like falling over. I've had that happen where you don't realize it. And next thing you know, you're like so far away from the beach. The current like pulled you away. You didn't even realize it. And then you got to swim all the way back. And by the time you get back, you're so what she's describing, it happens to people who are healthy sometimes. So I don't know why she's trying to make this something so, I mean, maybe there's more to it, but getting really tired and passing out after exhausting yourself in the ocean is not that uncommon. That's why we have lifeguards.
And then I scream, turn the effing camera off. I don't want anyone to see me like this. I'm so ashamed.
She did say that.
I was this person
Welcome in, Kat.
who represented someone who loves their body. And I was at war with my body.
I'd be interested for her to get a more.
I am such a liar.
I think Anna either has more conditions than she tells us, or she intentionally keeps herself ignorant and doesn't even want to be tested for other stuff. I think that's the feeling I get. Like either she's in denial and doesn't want to even think about possibly having other issues, or she's just keeping it secret. But it's possible. It's certainly possible. Yes, to hikes. I remember that trip. She did those hikes through the rocks. And welcome in, Steady. So hopefully you're having a good weekend. But yeah, she absolutely was exhausting herself. She climbed in and out of that boat. She was this was like what, her third day of the vacation? She was probably on Adderall for the first 3 days or Vyvanse or whatever pills she normally takes. And when they all wore off, she just completely collapsed. Her whole body collapsed. That does happen.
And I think that moment is where I was like, I need to make some changes. And I did not share that with the internet right away. I never shared that specific moment with the internet because it was too personal. I sometimes wonder if I've hurt people. As a creator in the body positivity space, I parroted a lot of the same messages that everybody else did.
Oh, wow. Is this actually a little bit of self-reflection from Anna? She actually feels conflicted about giving bad advice in the past? Is this something she actually has the slightest little bit of contrition in regard to? I would be glad to hear it, but I got to hear a little more of this. Does she really feel bad, or is she just saying this?
You know, love your body, indulge in what you want. Life is short. You know, don't feel like you need to have this health standard. And that line of thinking at a very high level isn't wrong, right? But I often wonder if I have driven people to not seek health. And
wow, Anna, that is the most honest thing I heard from her in a while, but I want to address this by hippieista. And I think that this is a good point here. Sometimes you do get a doctor who really does not take your concerns seriously. And if you do have that, I would say try to find a different doctor, right? I mean, sometimes we're not able to, sometimes the insurance situation or location, but that's unfortunate if you have a doctor who doesn't take you seriously. You know, you need a doctor who takes you seriously. And regardless of what the specific reason is, you know, that's an important thing. So yeah, but here, Anna, with a moment of reflection, if this is honest, I do feel a little bit of sympathy here. I'm not made of stone. I do. I can understand how she feels. And I'll go out and I'll give a moment of honesty and self-reflection here. When I was younger, I was probably a bad influence on some people. I drank too much. I used to get high too much. And, you know, I never like actively encouraged anybody to do anything bad, but I certainly was not a good influence on people when I was younger. So I regret that. thank goodness I do my best now to be a good influence on people. So I feel I've made, amends as best I can. But yeah, this part here where Anna reflects, and did she give people bad advice? She probably did. Did anybody take it? Maybe. I don't know. That's a good question.
And I wonder if there's people who listened to me, who believed in me, who followed me, and are worse off because of it. And so part of the reason I share a lot about my health journey is because I have that guilt, and that guilt is going to follow me forever. And I did it unintentionally, and I did it because I myself was broken. But I believe that there has to be this space where we
I got you, Doc. I got you,
that
Beast.
bodies come in different shapes and sizes. While at the same time acknowledge that just because your body doesn't fit a certain shape doesn't mean you should not care how you feel. It's a really complicated conversation.
It's a moment of vulnerability here. This is something that if it's real, I respect it. I hope it's real, because I don't like to think Anna would fake something like this. But if this is some real vulnerability, I do respect this.
And it is very nuanced, and there are a lot of very angry voices in it. And I understand why they're angry, right? I get that anger because I've been there, and I, in a lot of ways, in some ways, I'm still there. But the messaging is at times causing the same problem.
Oh, no, I get you, Beast. I don't take any offense.
And I don't know if I'll ever be smart enough or eloquent enough to fully explain that
it's good
dichotomy.
To give your opinion.
It is a community that saved me, but also a community that broke me. And that is a really...
This is the one part of this podcast so far where I feel like Anna comes across as somewhat authentic. I typically think she's very inauthentic. I don't know if this crying is real, but the story feels real to me. It feels like she's at least being honest when she says that she's conflicted about her time in the body positivity movement, where she feels like she may have given some bad advice to people. She may have encouraged some negative behaviors, but she also feels like it was a good thing for her. So she's very conflicted. And that I really, respect that honesty, if that's what that is.
Really difficult thing to explain.
I want to share with you something that my mentor told me a long time ago about why people seek help. And he's a joint replacement surgeon, right? So he deals with people
that's got to be frustrating.
Terrible arthritis in their knees and their hips all the time.
It's really frustrating also that when we are in a situation when we have a doctor who's not taking us seriously, it's hard to find a doctor who does, because you can't just change, because you got to go through the insurance. You got to find another place that's nearby. You have to find a place that treats your condition. Then you have to update them on your whole story. And it's not easy changing doctors. So I can sympathize with people who stay with a doctor who's not, ideal, because I've had doctors who I didn't necessarily like, but the insurance and the ability to get an appointment, and there's just so many other factors that weigh into it. And I wish those other factors didn't exist. That's an unfortunate situation with the medicine that I've found, or rather with the medical care industry. Let me say that.
Asked me, he said, "Do you know when people come to me and they say,
true.
I
that's
want
not good.
A knee replacement?" And I said, "Oh, like, when their x-ray looks terrible and they're in, so much pain." And he said, "It's not about the pain. People can handle pain, and people are handling pain."
Yeah, I mean, there are doctors who just, they mean well, but then there are doctors who just really don't take it seriously. And then there are doctors who are overworked. I mean, I don't like to generalize. Everything's different. But, if it's good to just try to talk to your doctor, I guess, at first. You give them the benefit of the doubt and say, "Hey, I just wanted to give you some more information about my condition and my situation." Because sometimes they really don't have the background. They just look at a paper for 2 minutes and that's all they have. Sometimes they really are rushed. So I try to give them the benefit of the doubt. But if you've been seeing a doctor for a while and they're not responsive to your needs, then then you may need to consider finding somebody who is.
All the time. It's when you are emotionally fatigued from the pain, that is when they come to see me and they tell me they need help. And
That's
so
true.
you should feel no guilt in that you felt like it took too long for you to seek answers. And
I find it interesting that the doctor is absolving her of any guilt, when I think that Anna really made a very honest kind of confession here. And I don't think the doctor can absolve her of guilt, because she may have actually harmed some people, and nobody can absolve her of that, except, I mean, maybe if she's a person of faith, maybe her own belief, she can get absolution. But that's not something another person can forgive you for. It's something that you need to just, I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know what to say here precisely, but that's not, I do know that's not something another person can tell you, oh, it's okay. They don't know. They don't know. That's something she just needs to kind of, think about and maybe talk to a therapist about.
reach out for help. I would say that's the norm.
Thank you. Thank you for telling me that. Honestly, thank you. It got to the point where,
Yeah, see, like right here, like I don't think this woman has the ability to give Anna this absolution, but Anna's quickly willing to take it. She's like, well, thank you. Now I don't feel bad anymore. But can she really be the one to give you that feeling?
I was afraid I was going to die. I know that sounds like dramatic, but I was also having extremely intense periods. I was bleeding constantly. Like, I just felt like my body was on the verge of shutting down.
So she hasn't really been clear on the exact time frame, but from what she describes, we have to assume that this is around the time that she collapsed in the sand in that video. So that was what, about 2 years ago? 2.5?
And if this is what living was like, then I didn't want to live.
Wow, that's a strong statement. So she's saying that she was so ill that she didn't even want to go on. And when she did her videos, she was always dancing in the videos and saying how happy she was. So it's pretty interesting to hear that she was that upset while putting on an image that she could not be happier.
And so at that
Shocking.
point, it became a choice of, do I want to die like this? Or do I want to try and make it better? And it took me,
I mean, he probably was well-intentioned.
a year of therapy to get to the point where I could mentally
not a
see
realistic
doctor,
goal,
because I was so paranoid from all the things I'd heard. And
hold on, so it took her a year to see, let me rewind that. It took her a year to see a doctor because she was paranoid.
And it took me a year of therapy to get to the point where I could mentally see a doctor, because I was so paranoid from all the things I'd heard.
That is, I mean, mental illness is a terrible thing. So I'm not gonna dwell on whether that's certainly possible. We'll just leave it at that.
And part of that paranoia came from an experience I had when I first entered the body positive movement, where I went to a doctor. At this point, I was still really active. I was running about 3 miles a day.
See, now again, this doesn't add up. She says she was in the body positive movement. She was active running 3 miles a day. But she said that she joined that movement after she quit doing all the exercise, that she was exercising and dieting and it was destroying her body. So she had to quit doing all that. And then she joined the body positivity movement and gained a bunch of weight, ostensibly. But then she says she was still running 3 miles a day. So what was going on here?
Smaller than I am currently, and eating, pretty healthy. So I went to the doctor. I walked in. She ran all my labs.
So she was eating healthy and running 3 miles a day. When exactly was this?
No, nothing wrong. I did not have,
nothing wrong either. Okay.
Diabetes, prediabetes. At this point, nothing was wrong with me.
How long ago was this?
She tried to put me on diabetes medication simply because I was overweight.
How long ago was this that she's talking about? Because she doesn't provide any dates. She doesn't provide any numbers. She doesn't provide any names. This is all so vague. It's hard to really track the details.
Even though my blood labs did not indicate I needed it. Then she tried to sell me a program where I give myself a shot and eat 600 grams of chicken or something like that. So do you know what that is, by the way? It's like
600 grams of chicken is like 1.3 pounds of chicken. It's a lot of chicken, but I mean, I'm not sure exactly what your issue is, Anna, with that is, though.
Some shot you don't eat, and then you eat like a tiny amount of protein, and that's it.
Oh my God. So like a shot, and that would allow you to stay on it. Like, so in other words, a diet along with the medication. She's trying to make it sound like this is some horrible thing. She offered me an injection and a diet. And I was like, no, I'm not taking that.
And she was like, I want you to do this for 30 days. And I literally was like, hell to the no, no.
Yeah. She wanted you to go on a diet for 30 days and to try some injections. And you said, hell to the no. So this is, again, Anna's becoming very unsympathetic again.
No, I will not.
I will not
You know
do
what
that.
I'm talking about? Do you even know what that is?
I have no idea what that is. I mean, nowadays, with
I'm glad you enjoyed it,
the
piece,
era of
though.
Ozempic, right?
Yeah.
People think shots. That's
No, it was
I'm
not
probably going to
Ozempic.
split it
This
into
was-
two
don't
parts,
believe that
though.
was the norm.
This was like, this was before that. And it was like some
Mhm.
crazy thing. And then you would reintegrate food.
Yeah, it
So
sounds odd.
I remember being terrified because she also
I've got a feeling that she's exaggerating. I've got a feeling when she says 600 grams of chicken. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know. But Anna is a very unreliable narrator. Yes, there's doctors who don't have, make bad decisions, but I don't know. Going on a diet for 30 days doesn't sound like something so terrible to me.
also sat me down and she's like, you need to exercise more. You need to do this. And I'm like, I'm running 3 miles a day. There is nothing more I can do.
But then what do you want this doctor to do for you then? If you're already exercising and you're already dieting and your blood work is all healthy, what is it you want people to do? What is it you want? You say you're confident in your body, your blood work is healthy, you're running 3 miles a day, you're eating healthy. What is it? Then why are you going to the doctor? What is it you want the doctor to do for you? You're eating healthy, you feel great. What exactly do you need?
So I had that experience. And now let's add to the table. I've gained back the weight. So now I'm 100 pounds heavier. What is
I
that
think
doctor
so.
going to say to me now? If that was my last experience.
Okay, so now that you gained back 100 pounds, what is the doctor going to say to you now? Well, clearly you stopped doing what you were doing. She wants us to believe that she saw the doctor, she was healthy, everything was great. A year later, she's changed nothing, but she's gained 100 pounds. And now the doctor, well, doctor, how do you explain yourself? Huh? Again, it's funny how Anna had like a little period where she was kind of making sense, and now she's back off the deep end again.
What is that doctor going to say to me now? They're going to say you're
Going to say you were either lying then or you're lying now because something has changed. There's no way you gained 100 pounds without changing anything. That's what the doctor is going to say to you. You were either lying then or you're lying now. Which is it?
trash. And now I've heard from everybody else around the internet that when you get bigger, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And they're nasty and mean and they do all these things. So my fear of the doctor was intense. So after a year of therapy,
I don't understand what her fear was, though. Her blood work was good. I mean, I understand that fear can be irrational. Let me say that. Fear can be irrational. I'm not trying to mock her if she has mental illness. I'm not trying to be mean like that. But my question is more, what did she want from the doctor? Why was she even seeing a doctor? If she, as she says, she was running 3 miles a day, eating healthy, her blood work was good, had no diabetes, what are you seeing the doctor for? Just a regular checkup? Okay.
I kind of went through it. I saw a doctor through a process of extreme elimination. ZocDoc is amazing to get reviews on doctors so you can at least get a gist of what people like and don't like about them. And so I read.
Well, the thing is, Kat, it's gram of protein. 1 gram of chicken does not have a gram of protein because you got to think it's like what, 28 grams of chicken has, I think, 8 grams of protein, something like that. I'm sure Jarella knows this better than me. But it's something like 28 grams of chicken has 8 grams of protein. If it's so 600 grams of chicken would be 300 grams of protein, or excuse me, would be 160 grams of protein, which is a lot of protein, but it's not to the point where it's it's not crazy. It's a lot, but it's not crazy.
All of the reviews, and luckily someone who was plus size had already seen this doctor and said that they were.
It's a lot. I'm not saying it's not a
and all
lot,
of that.
but
And I said, awesome,
crazy.
I'm going to go to this person. That doctor, I can definitively say, changed my life because they started the process for where I am now. And when I went in to see him, he sat down, and honestly, I walked in with going back to shots. I said, just give me Ozempic.
Well, like, that's fair, but what could he reprimand her for? If she's eating healthy, she's exercising, and she has no, nothing wrong with her. Like, I guess I'm saying, like, he could say, well, you're too fat. But if she knows that she's doing everything right, I mean, again, like I said, mental illness doesn't make sense. So I'm not trying to say what she should have done. If it was a matter of mental illness, then it is what it is. I can't tell her what to do. But if she was thinking logically, it doesn't make sense.
Just do it. If it'll make me feel better, I can't feel this way, because I honestly believed that the solution to my problem was that I needed to lose weight. So I had worked through therapy to accept that losing weight.
But how can you lose weight if you're already dieting and exercising? Like, what else can you do? Like, it's not, there's nothing else there is no like third option. If you're already dieting, you're already in a caloric deficit, you're already exercising, and you're not losing weight, you need to call, I don't know, you need to go to like a clinic or something, because there's no explanation for that.
Could help my health. I went through a lot of things to try to accept the fact that I was going to have to lose weight, right? And that wasn't a bad thing, but it was about feeling better. So I went into this doctor and I'm like, just give me the shot. And he literally looked at me and was like, how can I give you a medicine if I don't know if you're sick? And
so instead of going back to the doctor who told her he wanted to give her an injection, or she wanted to give her an injection and put her on a diet, she went to a different doctor and said, I want you to give me the same injection. That's odd, but all right. And then that doctor said, well, I don't even know if you're sick. Well, she would know. Like, if Anna doesn't know whether or not she's overeating, then who does? If she knows that she has a weight problem, then who are you to tell her she doesn't?
it kind of took me back. He's like, I'm not giving you anything until we read your labs.
Well, that's a good point,
like,
actually. That's a very good point.
I don't know what's going on with you, and that is not
portion
a professional thing.
Is
to do.
absolutely
Just hand over medication to
more
a patient
important
I've just
maybe
met.
than the food. So that's a good point. Anna might be saying, well, I'm eating healthy, but she might be eating massive portions. So that's a fair point.
Some labs on me, and the
point.
first thing that came up is that I was in a really bad place. My instincts of the fact that I was on the verge of death weren't necessarily so wrong.
Hold on. Her labs were in a bad place. She said 1 year before, all of her labs were perfect. She said everything was perfect just 1 year before. She was eating healthy. Out of nowhere, she gained 100 pounds and all of her numbers went to hell. And she changed absolutely nothing. So what happened? What actually happened then? How did she gain 100 pounds and have her numbers go to hell if she says she was eating right and exercising and doing everything right?
I had major deficiencies in a lot of different vitamins. I had a lot of anemia and I was losing blood. Additionally, I came back as positive for Hashimoto's.
Oh, so, okay. Well, maybe that was what it was.
I literally thought, okay, these are the answers, right? So put on the medication for, get on Synthroid, which is what you take for thyroid disorder, or hypo, or the what?
That would explain it.
Hashimoto's thyroiditis.
That would explain it.
It actually can cause hyper or hypo, depending on it's your body's attack on your thyroid.
I think we're actually going to
affects the production.
I think, it's been about 2 hours. I think this is a good place to split it.
So a medication
right about
like
halfway
Synthroid
through
is given when you have abnormally levels of low thyroid hormone in your body.
Okay, thank you. So I got put on Synthroid. I got put on all these vitamins. Immediately things started to improve to a point. I started having more energy. I started having less days in extreme fatigue. So I started to feel better. And I was like, this is it. I've solved all my problems. I started to lose weight just because my thyroid was now working.
That's interesting. So in other words, she says that she gained 100 pounds from this thyroid condition. I'm not a doctor, like I said, so maybe that is possible. So I think this is a good place to leave it. Yeah, all right, everybody. By the way, you were an awesome audience today, everybody. Thank you so much for coming through. I hope everything works out okay for Dot if she's listening to the replay. Thank you to all of the lurkers. Thank you to all the people watching the replay. Thank you to all the chatters. Next week, I'm going to do something. I'm going to clear out the mods, and then we're going to figure out some kind of a situation for like making like just a few mods, because we have so much more than we need. We just really do. But we'll figure that out another day. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. You are awesome. You're an awesome group. I appreciate every one of you. Thank you to all my members as well. yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the show. And I had a lot of fun doing it. I think this was a really good deep dive into who Glitter and Lasers is as a person. I think we learned something. And I think that, I don't know if it's going to be next week. I don't know, but if it's not next week, it'll be in 2 weeks when I'll do the second part of this. But I'll keep you folks posted. I'll put up a notice when I do eventually have it ready. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you on Wednesday, I hope. Oh, and please be sure to like the stream and click that subscribe bell if you can. Thank you. Be blessed, everyone.